Tim Allen has had quite the career in comedy. From sitcoms like Last Man Standing and Home Improvement, to movies like Toy Story and The Shaggy Dog. But there's a chance you know him best from a certain trilogy.
The first movie released in 1994, creating a solid stepping stone for his career with Disney. It would take 8 whole years to create the sequel, and then 4 more to create the third. But we're not talking about that one. Today we're seeing if it's all downhill after the first, or if the second outshines them all. Let's rumble.
Round 1. Plot.
On its surface, Santa Claus 1 seems like a simple movie about an ordinary man becoming Santa Claus. But its themes and ideas go way deeper than that. Most obvious is its message that you're never too old to believe. It has us follow Scott through his turbulent relationship with his son Charlie. How they don't see eye to eye, fact is, they don't know one another at all. But one faithful night starts Scott on his journey to being a better man and a better father, with his son there to help guide him to his destiny.
Cool story, bro. If only the movie actually showed us that. You're right about the start. Charlie and Scott are basically strangers, and while it's clear Scott loves Charlie, it seems almost like an obligation rather than a genuine bond. Charlie only gives Scott a chance after he becomes Santa, but that's the only thing Charlie really seems to care about. Every shot of them bonding after the North Pole is just Scott trying to work up the nerve to break Charlie's heart with the truth. Meanwhile, his life is falling apart because of his sanctification process. Seems more like Scott is being pummeled into this position rather than being lovingly guided toward it.
I can see how you'd make that read, but it's more of Scott starts to believe because he sees Charlie's unshakable faith. And it helps him realize that it's okay for him to believe too. While the situation was thrusted on him, he learns to accept and even love what he has become. All because of his son.
Fine. Let's say you're right about that. The second movie takes that to its next step, and Scott has to learn that he can't just be Santa. He still needs to be a good father. We see Scott be the perfect Santa. The elves are happy, the workshop in top condition, everything is perfect. Except there's something he's overlooked. He needs a Mrs. Claus.
Matrimony? I gotta get married!
And Charlie's on the naughty list. Thus, Scott's battle as Santa, a father, and a husband begins. And we see him fail at all 3. Seeing him struggle to balance multiple duties is both relatable and saddening, which makes his ultimate triumph heartwarming and satisfying.
Too bad about that annoying toy Santa plot, though. Seriously, the B plot of this movie drags the entire thing down. Toy Santa has to be the worst character introduced into this franchise. But let's not forget about Curtis, who spends the entire movie bitching about rules and the Santa Handbook. It's really frustrating to watch. Seriously, if the movie had just been Scott needing to find a Mrs. Claus and reconnect with Charlie, I would not have an argument. But it isn't. So I do.
While the B-plot isn't perfect, it's necessary. Because Scott has to leave to deal with Toy Santa, it forces Charlie to step forward to mend Scott's relationship with Carol, despite the fact that he had initially felt betrayed by it. If Scott had stayed, he could have resolved those things. But the movie lets Charlie do it, really demonstrating the strength of their bond, way more than anything in the first movie.
Round 1 is a tie. Round 2, characters.
Look, everyone is just way better in this movie. Every character from the first movie returns in this one, and they're all just as good, if not better. Obviously, Charlie being 8 years older gives 2 an advantage from his acting standpoint, but that's not the only thing in its favor. Carol and Lucy are great additions to the cast that help take pressure off Scott and Charlie, who basically carried the first film.
Too bad about that annoying toy Santa plot, though.
Dude, we're on characters now.
I know! Toy Santa sucks! And Curtis sucks. Therefore, 2 characters suck. While the first movie have mid characters at worst, I'll take a cast of mid versus a cast with 2 terrible characters any day.
Well, 2 great characters and 2 bad characters is a net neutral if you ask me.
Round 2 is a tie. Round 3, cinematography.
Unlike Aaron, I'm not just gonna wuss out on this round like in the previous one.
Oh yeah? Make your case as to why a movie made in the same studio 8 years apart has better cinematography.
Well, first of all, cinematography includes how a film is shot, its makeup, practical effects, and special effects. You also have to take into account the time period in which the movies were filmed and compare it to the other films of the era. With all that taken into consideration, the CGI and puppeteering were just as good in the second movie when adjusted for budget.
Yeah, the second movie looks way better, but fine, take your pity point.
Round 3 is a tie. Round 4, entertainment.
Are you really gonna try to tell me that a romance is inferior? I know how much you love romantic comedies, and this is a great one with a seasonal flavoring. On top of that, it has elements of a family drama, and not one of those bullshit E-channel ones. Tim Allen has had years of home improvement experience under his belt, and his comedic timing has only improved.
Too bad about that annoying...
Make a different argument, please.
I would, but that is the only thing wrong with the second movie. I would agree with you that this movie is better than the first in almost every way, but the Toy Santa thing drags down the whole thing. And unfortunately, it's half the movie. Don't get me wrong, the first movie holds a special nostalgic place in my heart, bringing me a sense of the Christmas spirit that I thought long lost. Meaning, I would watch Santa Claus 1 every year without question. But the second one has too many things that annoy me.
It's a matter of consistent experience versus peaks and valleys.
Exactly. Which brings us to our conclusion.
Round 4 is a tie. And the conclusion is, it's a tie.
The conclusion being, we don't have one.
That's right. It seems this Rumble ended with a draw. The Eternals just couldn't agree. So it's up to you watching at home.
Which Tim Allen Santa Claus movie do you think is the best? The first one or the sequel? Hell, are you one of those insane people who thinks the third one is the best?
I actually like the third one over the second one.
Okay, that's it.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and join us next time when the Eternals rumble again.
So like you going actually help.